À, cũng yeah, 呢度 react 執緊嘢，佢哋間屋仲係整緊好。Hi，佢哋講好，我哋開始 live 咗啦。Hi, this is me, David Coe, my book, Thriving at Nature's Pace, and my mum, Eleanor. And
Hello.
she's saying hello, and she can't see very well, so she can't see the phone. She can see it when I move my hands and things. And she asked me, what's my book about? And I said, it's about a new approach to climate change. And she said, well, why don't you read it? So here we are, we're reading it. We've been doing it for a few days now. We are kind of about that much through, on that much through, so we're still early, we've got that much more to go. And today we're starting on chapter 6, and it's about what needs to be done. And so far, what we've basically said is that the climate change situation is not going to fix itself, and it's very real. And we need to think about the oil and the gas and the coal we use, but we can't really do that easily because we need them every day. So we have to be quite clever about it. And part of that is about whether we can actually uh, buy and sell them in the ground, much like we buy and sell shares, basically, so that we don't have to dig them out in order to get the value from them. And the book is kind of about how we can actually make that happen and what it actually means, because it's actually deeper than that. It's about how we think about our relationship with our planet, with each other, and with nature as we go on and do that. Because when you buy and sell things, you actually you are in a way, just think about going to someone that you like, and you're sort of like, I'm buying my fish from you today. You like to buy from someone you like. So that's kind of the point of it. It's not just about the buying and selling. There's a lot more to it. So onwards, what needs to be done? Chapter 6. How much am I going to read of this? Maybe just a couple of pages, I think, because if it's too long, then it gets too much. Oh, a couple of things that's worth talking about. So what do you actually buy and sell if it's in the ground and you can't get hold of it and you're not supposed to dig it out? Is you buy and sell contracts. That gives you the ownership. So those are called Thrive contracts. And what you can then do with those contracts is, what are you going to do with it? Well, you can keep it locked up in your safe, or you can actually return it to nature. So you can exchange it with nature for nature's currency, and I call that Thrive coins, so that you can have it and take advantage of it, or the same. So hi to people who've just joined. This is my mum, Eleanor, and me, David, and I'm reading my book, Thriving at Nature's Pace. So there we go. So what needs to be done? What needs to be done is to demonstrate that Thrive contracts can make people better off. This needs existing oil and gas and coal owners who are interested in pioneering a new approach. There are many oil and gas and coal producers. More than half the world's countries have oil and gas production, and over a third of them are coal producers. Among the other countries and autonomous regions, Greenland stands out as committing not to extract its significant oil and gas deposits. Capturing these deposits into Thrive contracts and selling them to nature can allow Greenlanders to benefit from this commitment to improve their economic presence. This can establish a wealth fund to invite people and businesses to co-invest in creating value. The approach can work like this. Greenland establishes a wealth fund that is a producer of Thrive contracts. The fund then invites businesses and climate-focused investors from around the world to invest in the fund. The investment works as follows. The amount of money that the investor puts in, the fund issues the amount of Thrive contracts and sells them to nature for Thrive coins. The coins are distributed to the investors so that they can use them. Everyone using them is automatically a witness to the contracts with nature to keep oil and gas permanently in the ground. The more people using the coins, the stronger this contract becomes. The investors' money, the dollars and euros that the investors put in, is used to develop businesses. For example, if Lego, the world's largest toy company by sales, is looking to develop a new business area, he can put his project into the wealth fund, sharing the profits from the profits to earn Thrive coins for his customers to use. Pandora, the world's largest jewelry brand, for example, can also do the same. Their global reach allows billions to benefit directly from nature's money and bring value to themselves, their customers, Greenlanders, and to nature and the world. Thrive contracts can also need to benefit countries that are producing oil and gas and coal. Among these, Colombia uniquely has signed up to the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. This is a community of people, businesses, and organizations, now even countries, that are committing to halt the expansion of fossil fuels. Colombia is the largest it's actually the largest coal exporter in South America. It's also the continent's largest coal exporter. Its clients are in Europe and the Far East. It has signed up with the intentional desire to pivot its economy away from oil and gas and coal. Colombia has a global audience. This gives any conversations it engages in a global reach. The country has favorable profile amongst environmental activists. It hosted the 16th International Biodiversity Conference in 2024. It is also a member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which puts it in the rank of the wealthier developed countries. At the same time, it has a significant indigenous population and is home to two major rainforests. This all makes Colombia a powerful potential pioneer to put a new and radical approach to climate finance on the table. Finally, there is football. Colombia is a major footballing nation with a passionate fan base that connects with 5 billion other football fans across the world. Climate change is not just about finance, it's also about passion and the things that give people joy. Coal accounts for 30% of Colombia's energy production and it's about 15% of its exports. The country has enough coal in reserves to continue production for another 100 years. This is a substantial revenue stream for the country. It cannot afford to just forego it. 100 years is also longer than the world can afford to keep producing oil and gas and coal. If Colombia is to lead the world in putting a lid on climate change, it has ample surplus to keep in the ground. The country has ambitious post-fossil fuel plans, and as always, the issue is how to finance them. This leans perfectly into Thrive contracts. Thrive contracts can be used to raise funds and accelerate the plan's implementation. With the country's prominence, the pioneering actions it takes will spur others to consider what they too can do for themselves. Climate change is not just about finance, but also about communities and identity. This is the issue of a just transition, and an issue of how people can choose for themselves. People in different places have different ideas of what works for them. If they cannot choose for themselves, then the transition itself will create adversity and conflict. This is particularly important in the indigenous communities and where there is often already a legacy of exploitation and injustice. Just transition makes the issue of climate change more than a matter of replacing one energy source with another. It makes it into a matter of dignity. People need the dignity of their own identity and self-determination in how they wish to thrive. Thrive contracts fundamentally give people this choice. The Navajo Nation, for example, is another major indigenous tribal nation in the US. It is also the US' third largest coal producer. This is through its wholly owned Navajo Transition Energy Company. The coal is used within the US in power plants and is also exported. Coal has allowed the Navajo Nation to establish an independent economic presence, has been instrumental in adding to its self-determination. However, this has also created an economic dependency. Coal plants are shutting down, and this is creating the need to explore new economic developments. In addition, climate change and the environmental impact of mining are also of concern to the community. Together, these issues touch on the cultural identity, jobs, opportunities, resources, and more. An emergent approach using Thrive contracts allows current coal income to continue. It even allows the ongoing developments to grow. It also uses the coal that's still in the ground to finance experiments with new economic developments. Thrive contracts allow the Navajo Nation to be fully in control. What about countries and regions that do not have oil, gas, and coal? They can equally benefit. Most countries and regions are calling for climate finance. Thrive contracts makes it possible to invite investors to wrap their projects with keeping oil and gas and coal in the ground. This gives Thrive coins to the people and the voice to say, we want climate finance that does not come from destroying the planet. We want money that comes from nature's pace. So, to pause here, I think
But China didn't take part in any of this.
China is actually taking part in a lot of this at the moment, and it's quite interesting to see what happens. So it's part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and it is the world's largest producer of equipment for renewable energy and so on, and it's also the world's largest producer of renewable energy itself. So China has more energy coming from its wind and solar than the whole of Europe and America together in that way. And it's doing this because in the past 10 years so far, China built a lot of hydroelectricity, but the water has run out because it hasn't rained. And it's a lot of coal and it has a lot of oil and gas use, but it recognizes it can't keep using those because it's making the water run out even more. So it's moving away from using those so that it can really help. And it's the largest producer of electric cars and all of those things. And back when I was working with Horizon, which was about 7 years ago, we were doing this research on just where all the patents were coming from. And it turns out that even back then, China had more patent on environmental projects, environmental science ideas, than the rest of the world put together. So the question is really is really politically, the problem is the Western world sees China as an enemy, and it does not want to allow Chinese technology to be used.
They are jealous of China.
Yes, and it's deliberately trying to prevent China from being able to offer what it has to the world. And that's why you often hear of it as China is not doing anything on this, when in fact China is the one country and the one region that is actually most advanced in all of this. So, but it still has a lot of problems. It still has a lot of energy demand, and it's the way China is now is that it needs to find new ways to develop for the people, and that's where these things come in, and how hopefully actually reach them with some of these things that we say. But definitely, this new Cold War between the US and China, and that had brought in Europe and Australia as well. I'm not sure how that goes now because the US has decided it doesn't want to be friends with anyone, so that may help. So what do you think? So definitely China is the place. So thank you very much, and to everybody. So thriving at nature's pace. We can just pause here, and you do recommend it, please, and hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.
Bye bye.